I wish this idiot would just disappear. That's the first thing I read when I accidentally opened Marcela's old diary. It felt like someone had punched me straight in the chest. One minute I was organizing our living room, stacking books neatly for the new shelf she had insisted on buying, thinking about our upcoming wedding. The next, I was frozen in place, staring at a page filled with words that made my heart twist and my stomach churn. Edward is such a loser. Always following me. Around like a stray dog, it's disgusting. The handwriting was childish, full of little hearts and exaggerated loops, but the words cut sharper than any knife. I kept flipping pages, my hands shaking. Every line was worse than the last. He actually thinks he has a chance with me, as if I'd ever date someone like him. Honestly, I'd rather die alone than end up with Edward. The words blurred for a second because my vision did. We'd been together 5 years. I had loved her for 7. I had proposed after saving for months to buy her the ring she said she dreamed of. We were supposed to build a life together, and now this. This ugly, cruel version of Marcela I had never seen before. A version who once hated me so much she couldn't even hide it in private. I told myself it was just stupid teenage drama. People change. She loved me now, didn't she? I clutched the diary tighter as footsteps approached behind me. "Edward?" Marcela's voice floated into the room, light and casual, like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just shattered every memory I had built of us. "What are you doing?" I turned around slowly. She was smiling at me, tilting her head, slightly, wearing the same expression she always did when she wanted me to forgive her for something small, late to a date. Forgot an anniversary. Something harmless. But this wasn't harmless. I held up the diary, the page still open, her 16-year-old hatred glaring up at me. Marcela's smile froze on her lips, and in that one moment, everything between us cracked apart. Marcela stepped closer, her hands wringing nervously in front of her. "That was a long time ago, Edward," she said, voice too soft, too careful. "You're not seriously upset over something I wrote when I was 16, are you?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because my mouth couldn't form the words sitting like lead in my chest. I kept staring at her, searching for something, regret, guilt, anything real, in her face. But all I saw was impatience. Marcela, the girl I had fallen head over heels for in high school. The girl I had waited for when she moved to another city for college. The girl I had supported when she lost her job and said she wanted to follow her dream of becoming a fashion influencer. I thought I knew her. I thought we were building something real. 5 years of birthdays spent side by side. 5 Christmases where I picked the gifts weeks in advance just to see her smile. Hundreds of nights when I stayed up late, texting her goodnight even during my busiest deadlines. When she said yes to my proposal last year, I had cried. Actual tears. Right there on the restaurant balcony with the city lights glittering behind us. I thought it was the beginning of forever. I thought she felt the same. Looking at her now, I wasn't so sure anymore. Marcela moved to grab the diary, but I took a step back. "Edward, you're making a big deal out of nothing," she said, laughing, lightly trying to smooth it over. "I barely even knew you back then. I was just a stupid teenager." "You knew me," I said quietly. The words hung between us, heavy and accusing. Marcela's smile slipped, her hands balling into fists at her sides. I remembered meeting her for the first time at a mutual friend's birthday party. She wore a pink hoodie 2 sizes too big, her hair tied up messily, no makeup. She laughed at something dumb I said, and it felt like the whole world had gotten a little brighter. After that night, I found excuses to see her again. Bringing her coffee when she studied at the library, offering rides home after club meetings, standing in the cold rain outside her favorite bakery because she offhandedly mentioned liking their strawberry cake. Every step I took toward her, I thought it mattered. That she saw me trying. That she cared. Now I wondered if she even noticed. If it had all just been background noise to her real life, the one filled with people who were cooler, richer, better. The diary trembled in my hands. I turned another page. Another paragraph jumped out like a slap. I swear, the way he smiles at me is so creepy. He gives me the ick. I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment. I couldn't breathe. Marcela took another step closer, reaching for my arm. "Look, Ed," she said, her voice gentler now. "I didn't mean any of it. I didn't know you back then. You're not that guy anymore." I opened my eyes and stared at her. "Then why do I feel like you still look at me the same way?" I asked, voice raw. She blinked, caught off guard. Her mouth opened, then closed again, like she was searching for the right lie to patch the bleeding crack between us. I didn't give her the chance. "I gave you everything," I said, my voice growing steadier even as my heart shattered. "My time, my trust, my future." Marcela's lip trembled, and for a moment I thought maybe she would finally be honest. But instead, she smiled weakly and said, "That was just silly teenage stuff, babe. None of it matters now." I studied her carefully, every small tell, the slight twitch of her eyebrow, the way she couldn't hold my gaze for more than a few seconds, the fake lightness in her tone. She wasn't sorry for writing it. She was sorry she got caught. A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. "You want to spend the rest of your life with someone you used to think was disgusting?" I asked. Marcela's smile wavered. "People change, Edward. Feelings change." "Did they?" I asked, sharply. "Or did you just get tired of waiting for someone better?" Her mouth dropped open in protest, but the silence that followed was louder than any denial. The pink diary felt like 1,000 pounds in my hand. I dropped it onto the coffee table between us. Marcela flinched like it had exploded. "Edward," she whispered, her voice breaking, "please don't throw away what we have over something so stupid." I looked around our living room, the framed pictures of us smiling at beaches, fairs, rooftops, the candles she always lit even when I said they were a fire hazard, the small bookshelf I had spent hours assembling because she wanted it to look Pinterest perfect. Everything here screamed of a life built together, but suddenly, it all felt fake, built on a foundation of pity, settling, lies. I inhaled deeply, trying to gather the scattered pieces of my heart. "I need some air," I said hoarsely. Before Marcela could grab my hand, before she could say another word, I turned and walked out the door. Down the stairs, out into the biting cold night, leaving behind everything I thought I knew about the girl I loved. And maybe, leaving behind the love itself. The air outside bit into my skin, cold and raw, but it still didn't numb the hollow ache growing inside my chest. I wandered aimlessly for a while, my feet carrying me down familiar streets without thought. Every step away from our apartment felt like peeling off another layer of skin. Painful but necessary. The pink diary still burned in my mind. The way Marcela had smiled when she saw it in my hands. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. I ended up at a small park a few blocks away, one we used to walk through late at night when we first started dating. Back when just holding her hand made my heart race. Back when I thought, stupidly, that love was enough to make someone stay. I sat down on a cold metal bench and leaned forward, burying my face in my hands. How long had she really felt that way? Was there ever a moment she genuinely loved me, or had I just been convenient, consistent, safe? I thought back to all the times she canceled plans at the last minute, the way she hesitated sometimes when I said, "I love you," pretending she hadn't heard. The times I caught her smiling a little too brightly at Christopher's jokes, laughing a little too freely with Christian. I had brushed it off every time, told myself I was just being insecure, told myself she had chosen me, hadn't. Hadn't she said yes when I got down on one knee? I laughed bitterly into the cold night air. Maybe she hadn't said yes because she loved me. Maybe she had said yes because there was no one better at the moment. A soft vibration in my pocket snapped me out of my thoughts. My phone, a text from Marcela. "Please come back. Let's talk." Another message followed right after. I love you, Edward. Please don't ruin us over something stupid. I stared at the screen, the words blurring, for a moment before coming into sharp focus again. Love. What a joke. I almost shoved the phone back into my pocket, but something made me hesitate. Instead, I opened our old message history, scrolling mindlessly. Months of texts, good mornings, good nights, pictures of meals we shared. Random, silly jokes. But something caught my eye. A string of conversations from about 6 months ago. The time I had been traveling for work. The time she said she missed me so much she couldn't sleep. There it was, right there in black and white. Don't worry, babe. I'm just hanging out with Christian. She keeps me company while you're away. We just watch Netflix and order junk food. I miss you so much it hurts. I remembered feeling a sharp pain of guilt reading that message back then. Guilt for being so far away. Guilt for not being able to be there for her. But now, rereading it, I caught something I hadn't noticed before. The timestamp. 41 a.m. Who the hell hangs out until almost 3 in the morning? And another photo she had sent, her and Christian with messy hair on a couch laughing at something off camera. In the background, blurred but unmistakable, Christopher's jacket hanging on a chair. I remembered that jacket. He had worn it to Marcela's birthday dinner. She had joked that it was hideous but kind of cute in an ironic way. Suddenly my fingers felt too cold to move. My brain felt too slow to process. They had all been there, late at night, while I was thousands of miles away, trusting her. I swallowed the bile rising in my throat. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe they were just hanging out. Maybe I was being paranoid. I wanted so badly to believe that. But the diary's words still echoed in my mind. He gives me the ick. I wish he would disappear. Was it really paranoia if the person you trusted had already shown you exactly how they felt once before? The screen lit up again. Marcela calling. I stared at her name flashing against the darkness. Let it ring once, twice, 3 times. My thumb hovered over the answer button. At the last second, I pressed decline. I couldn't do it. Not yet. Not until I understood what the hell was actually going on. Not until I knew if I had spent 5 years building a future with someone who never wanted me there in the first place. Another message popped up. Edward, please, come back. I'm scared. For a moment, guilt gnawed at my insides. Marcela hated being alone at night. She always said she had nightmares, even as an adult. Silly fears, she called them. It would have been so easy to get up, walk back, hold her, forgive her. Pretend this never happened. But sitting there on that freezing bench, my heart already half frozen inside my chest, I realized something. I had spent the last 5 years making excuses for every red flag. This time, I needed answers. Not apologies, answers, real ones, without lies, without fake smiles, without twisting the blame back onto me. I rose from the bench slowly, my muscles stiff from the cold. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I was ready to confront the truth, no matter how ugly it turned out to be. The walk back to the apartment felt endless, each step heavier than the last. The night was quiet, but inside my mind, it was chaos. Questions roared louder than the wind slicing through my jacket. Was I imagining things? Was I reading too much into old messages, blurry backgrounds, stupid teenage diary entries, or had I been a blind fool all along? Every memory fought for space in my head. The first time Marcela kissed me, a shy, sudden thing under the streetlights after a movie. The night we moved in together, laughing as we carried boxes up 4 flights of stairs. The lazy Sundays spent curled up on the couch, her head resting on my chest. Were those memories real, or were they just convenient moments in a life where I was never really her first choice? I reached our building and stood there for a long time, staring up at the dark windows. The light in our living room was still on. A shadow moved past it. Marcela pacing. Maybe she was crying. Maybe she was rehearsing apologies. Or maybe she was texting someone else. Christopher, Christian, anyone but me. I fished my keys out of my pocket, my hands trembling slightly despite the cold. For a brief second, I considered turning around. Walking away, never opening that door again. But I had to know. Even if it destroyed me, I had to know the truth. The lock clicked loudly as I turned the key. Inside, the warmth blasted my face, but it didn't reach my heart. Marcela was sitting on the couch, clutching a throw pillow so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Her head snapped up when she saw me. "Edward," she breathed, standing quickly. Thank God. I was so worried. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I just stared at her, trying to see something, anything, that would prove me wrong. But her eyes, red from crying, didn't hold the desperation I needed to see. They held fear. Fear of being caught. Not fear of losing me. Marcela rushed toward me, reaching for my hands. "They meant nothing," she said quickly, words tumbling over each other. "Those diary entries, they were stupid. I was young and angry and stupid." "And now?" I asked, my voice low and even, her hands tightened around mine. "Now I love you," she said fiercely. "I want to marry you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you." For a moment, I almost believed her. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But the little voice inside my head, the one I had silenced for years, whispered the question I hadn't dared ask until tonight. If she truly loved me, why did it always feel like I was fighting for a place in her life? I pulled my hands away slowly. Marcela's face crumpled. "Edward, please," she whispered, voice cracking. "Don't do this. Don't throw us away over some old words." I looked past her, scanning the apartment, the bookshelf I built, the photos of us smiling, laughing, the matching mugs she insisted on buying, one reading King, the other Queen. Props. Props for a life she wanted to show off to the world, not the life she wanted with me. A small sound broke the silence, her phone buzzing on the coffee table. Marcela lunged for it instinctively, but I was faster. I snatched it up, the screen lighting up in my hand. One new message from Christian. "Is he back yet? You need me to come over?" Lol. My chest tightened so violently, I thought for a second I might black out. Marcela's face drained of color. It's not what you think," she stammered, reaching for the phone. I held it out of her reach. "What do I think, Marcela?" I said, voice shaking with rage I could barely contain. "Go ahead, enlighten me." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her silence told me everything I needed to know. The betrayal wasn't just written in a 7-year-old diary. It was alive right here, right now, breathing between us. I dropped the phone onto the couch like it was something filthy. Marcela flinched at the sound. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too suffocating, like the walls were closing in, forcing me to face a reality I had spent too long avoiding. The reality that I wasn't her love story. I was her backup plan. The safe, boring choice she settled for when the world didn't hand her something better. I staggered back a step, struggling to breathe. Marcela watched me, tears slipping down her cheeks silently now. No more fake smiles. No more carefully crafted lies, just a broken girl watching the only man who ever truly loved her walk out of her reach. I didn't know if I hated her. I didn't even know if I pitied her. All I knew was that something inside me, something vital, had cracked beyond repair, and no amount of apologies could ever fix it. I don't know how long we stood there in that suffocating silence. Marcela was crying harder now, small broken gasps that shook her shoulders. Maybe once I would have rushed to comfort her. Maybe once I would have believed those tears meant something. But tonight, I saw them for what they were. A performance. A desperate attempt to control the damage, not heal it. I turned toward the door. I needed to leave. If I stayed even a second longer, I might lose the last shred of dignity still clinging to me. Just as my hand touched the doorknob, Marcela's voice sliced through the air behind me. "Edward, wait!" Something in her tone made me pause. Different. Panicked. Terrified. I glanced back over my shoulder. She was standing by the coffee table, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. Her thumb moved quickly across the screen. My heart, already battered, gave one last pathetic jolt. "What are you doing?" I asked, voice like ice. She froze, hesitated, then lied. "Nothing," she whispered, tucking the phone behind her back. The instinct was automatic, reflexive, the same way a guilty child hides a broken toy. I stepped closer, slowly. "Show me," I said. Marcela shook her head frantically. "It's private, Edward. Please. It's just Christian comforting me. You don't need to see it. Private." Another lie, another brick in the wall she had built between us. Without thinking, I lunged forward, grabbing the phone out of her hands. She cried out, trying to snatch it back, but I was already unlocking it. The passcode hadn't changed, my birthday. How fitting. The first message that popped up wasn't from Christian, it was from Christopher. Christopher. "Tell him you were drunk, say you don't remember anything, he's a sucker for tears." My breath caught. Another message followed immediately. Christopher. "If he leaves you, you always have a place with me." The blood drained from my face so fast I almost stumbled. I stared at the screen, rereading the words until they blurred. Marcela had been lying to me. Not just tonight, not just in some stupid diary written when she was a teenager. She had been lying for months, whispered conversations behind my back, late-night meetings dressed up as innocent hangouts, building her escape plan just in case I ever woke up and realized what a fool I was. Marcela reached for the phone again, sobbing now, but I held it out of her reach. "You were planning to leave me," I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "No," she cried, shaking her head violently. "Edward, no, I love you. He's just being stupid. He jokes like that all the time. Then why did you need a backup?" I cut her off sharply. She choked on her next breath. I stared at her, really stared, and saw the truth written in every trembling line of her body. She hadn't chosen me because she loved me. She had chosen me because she was scared of being alone, because I was safe, predictable, because she thought I would never find out. Marcela crumpled onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I was scared," she whispered between sobs. "You were always so good to me, Edward. I didn't deserve you. I knew it. I was afraid you'd realize it one day and leave, so you lined up replacements?" I finished for her, my voice flat. She shook her head desperately, but I didn't believe a word she said anymore. The second twist had cut deeper than the first, deeper than the diary, deeper than Christian's late-night messages. This wasn't about a stupid teenage crush or petty immaturity. This was who she was. A girl who smiled in my face while building an escape route behind my back. I looked around, the apartment one last time. The photos, the decorations, the tiny signs of a life I thought we shared. None of it mattered anymore. I dropped her phone onto the coffee table. It landed with a sharp, final thud. Marcela lifted her head, her tear-streaked face pleading with me. "Edward, please." I stared at her for a long, heavy moment, and then I turned and walked out the door without saying another word. The cold air hit me like a slap when I stepped outside. I didn't even realize I was shaking until I stopped at the edge of the street. My fists clenched so tightly my nails cut into my palms. Everything was unraveling so fast I could barely keep up. 1 second, I was engaged to the woman I thought I would grow old with. The next, I was standing outside, heartbroken and humiliated, realizing she had never really chosen me at all. The betrayal wasn't just a crack. It was a gaping hole swallowing everything I thought was real. I didn't know how long I stood there. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. Eventually my phone buzzed again. Another text. Marcela, please come back. Let's fix this. I can't lose you. A second. Later, Marcela. I'm sorry, I'll do anything. Please don't throw us away. I stared at the messages, my thumb hovering over the screen. She sounded desperate now, panicked, and for a brief, cruel moment, I felt a grim satisfaction. She was finally feeling a fraction of the devastation she had casually dumped on me. But that satisfaction curdled fast into something uglier. Because if I went back now, if I forgave her tonight, I would be condemning myself to a lifetime of doubt, suspicion, and second-guessing. I would never trust her again. Not really. Every late text, every unexpected call, every glance at another man. It would gnaw at me until there was nothing left. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and started walking. Not toward our apartment. Not toward any place I had been before. Just forward. Blindly. Aimlessly. I didn't want to go back. I couldn't. Somewhere deep inside, something had cracked beyond repair. It wasn't just that she had betrayed me. It was that I had betrayed myself. I had ignored every red flag. Every uncomfortable gut feeling. Every small voice warning me that something was wrong. Because I wanted so badly to believe she loved me. Because I needed to believe I was good enough for someone like her. The realization stung worse than anything Marcela had ever said or done. I wasn't angry at just her. I was angry at myself. I reached a small, empty bridge that crossed over a dried-up creek and leaned against the railing, staring down into the darkness. The city lights blinked in the distance. Everything felt unreal, like I had slipped into a different world where none of my memories meant anything anymore. My phone buzzed again. Marcela. I'm waiting at the door. Please, Edward, please come back. I closed my eyes, pressing my forehead against the cold metal of the railing. I remembered when I used to love that voice, how just hearing it could calm me down no matter how bad my day had been, how I would drop everything, every time, just to make sure she was okay. And now? Now it sounded like nails scraping down a blackboard. I pulled my phone out again and stared at the messages piling up, one after another, after another. Apologies, pleading, empty promises. Promises from a woman who had already built an exit strategy, the moment she realized love wasn't enough for her. I opened the group chat she used to share with Christian and Christopher. I had access once because Marcela always left her phone unlocked around me. A sign of trust, she had said. Scrolling through, it now felt like picking through a carcass. There it was, old photos, inside jokes, late-night study sessions that looked more like drunken hangouts, comments that didn't seem so innocent now, flirty emojis, nicknames, private jokes I was never part of. The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how easily she had lied, effortlessly, seamlessly, without blinking, as if loving me was just another role she had learned to play over time. My chest tightened painfully. Felt sick, tired, so goddamn tired. The phone buzzed again. Marcela. I'll never forgive myself if you walk away tonight. Another one right after. Marcela. We can still get married. We can start fresh. Please, Edward, please. I stared at the words. Marriage. A lifetime. With someone who once thought I was disgusting. With someone who needed backup plans tucked into her back pocket. With someone who didn't love me enough to stay faithful even when I was doing everything I could to make her happy. Something inside me finally snapped. I opened the call log and dialed her number. She picked up on the first ring. Edward, she started, her voice thick with tears, but I cut her off. You lied to me, I said quietly. She sobbed harder. I was stupid. I was scared. I didn't mean to hurt you. You lined up other options in case I wasn't enough, I said, my voice flat. You never loved me. You just loved what I could give you. That's not true, she cried. I love you now. Isn't that what matters? I laughed. It was a hollow, broken sound. No, Marcela, I said. What matters is that when you thought no one was looking, You showed me exactly who you really were. She went silent. Only the sound of her breathing filled the line. Broken, desperate. Closed my eyes for a long moment. Then I spoke the words that would end it forever. I'm not coming back. A long, terrible silence. Edward, she whispered, her voice shaking so hard I barely recognized it. Goodbye, Marcela, I said, my voice soft but final. I hung up, turned my phone off completely. The night was dead quiet around me now. No buzzing, no pleading, no fake apologies, just me, alone. But for the first time in a long, long while, I didn't feel weak because of it. I felt free. Maybe not healed yet, maybe not whole yet, but free. The city lights shimmered in the distance, blurry with the beginning of unshed tears. I stayed standing there on that bridge, letting the cold sink into my bones, letting the silence stitch back together whatever pieces of me were still left. Marcela had been my whole world. But tonight, standing alone under the uncaring stars, I realized something. I had been hers too. Not because she loved me, because she needed someone to hold her up while she figured out who she really wanted. I deserved better, and I was finally ready to go find it. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks without a single call, without a single message. I didn't unblock Marcela. I didn't check mutual friends' pages. I didn't want to know what she was doing, who she was crying to, what lies she was spinning now. She was part of another life, a version of me I had shed like dead skin. I spent my days packing. I canceled the wedding venue, called the photographer, returned the rings. I donated the custom decorations Marcela had picked out, every Mr. and Mrs. banner, every rose gold candle holder she swore would make the perfect Instagram shot. The last thing I did was call the landlord. The apartment lease was in my name. Marcela had always insisted it didn't matter whose name it was under. We were a team, until she wasn't. I gave my 30 days notice, arranged for movers, and one sunny Friday afternoon, without ceremony or a second glance, I locked the door to that apartment for the last time. Marcela wasn't there to say goodbye. She had moved in with Christian temporarily, according to a mutual acquaintance. It figured. She always did land on her feet, or at least she used to. The next Monday, I filed a small claims lawsuit, the broken lease, the canceled wedding expenses, the cost of the non-refundable honeymoon packages Marcela had insisted on booking through her favorite influencer's travel agency, without my consent. It wasn't about the money, it was about the principle. The betrayal hadn't just been emotional. It had been financial, manipulative, calculated. If she thought she could waltz away from all that without consequences, she was wrong. A month later, Marcela was served at Christian's condo. She tried to call me. I didn't answer. She tried to email. I blocked her there too. For the first time in 5 years, she couldn't reach me, couldn't sweet-talk me, couldn't twist the narrative, couldn't manipulate her way out of it. She was finally truly alone to face the consequences. Court day came faster than expected. Marcela showed up wearing a white blouse like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, clutching a stack of receipts and fake smiles. She tried to play innocent, tried to twist the story, but the paper trail didn't lie. Screenshots, emails, credit card charges. Proof that she had financially burdened me for months while planning her own private escape route. The judge ruled in my favor in under 20 minutes. Marcela's face when the judgment was read. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just sat there, frozen, like a puppet whose strings had finally been cut. I walked past her without a word after it was over. She didn't try to stop me, didn't even look at me. Maybe she finally understood. Maybe not. It didn't matter anymore. I cashed the settlement check 2 weeks later. It wasn't enough to erase everything she had taken from me. But it was enough to prove, to her, to myself, to the world, that I wasn't the fool she had mistaken me for. Not anymore, not ever again. 3 months later, I boarded a plane overseas. A new job, a new city, a clean slate. The skyline glittered. Below me, as the plane climbed higher, the city shrinking into nothing but lights in the darkness, a fitting metaphor for what I was leaving behind. Marcela became just another blurry light. Distant. Irrelevant. I didn't think of her often after that. When I did, it was without pain, without anger, without anything, really. She was simply gone. A bad memory from another lifetime. One night, almost a year after everything ended, I got an email. Not from Marcela, from Christian. The subject line was one word. Sorry. Curiosity made me open it. The email was short. No explanations, no justifications, just a single paragraph. I thought you should know. Marcela and Christopher ended up together after you left. He cheated on her 6 months later with one of her best friends. She's alone now. Lost her job. Moved back in with her parents. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because it hurt. It didn't. Not because I wanted revenge. I already had it. It was in the life I had rebuilt without her. It was in every peaceful night I slept without checking my phone. Every smile that didn't hide a knife. Every new beginning that didn't carry the ghost of her betrayal. Without replying, I deleted the email. Then I leaned back in my chair and stared out the window at the city skyline of my new home. Somewhere, out there, someone better waited. Someone who didn't need backup plans. Someone who didn't see me as a second choice. Someone who would never think my love was something to be pitied or used. And even if I never found her, even if I spent the rest of my life alone, it would still be better than spending another second with someone like Marcela. Because being alone was better than living a lie. And loving myself was worth more than being loved by someone who didn't know how. The night air was cool when I stepped onto my balcony. The city lights stretched endlessly into the distance, like possibilities waiting to be claimed. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and smiled. Not because I had forgotten, but because I had survived. Because no matter how much Marcela had tried to break me, she had failed. And because no matter where, she was now alone, heartbroken, humiliated, it was exactly the ending she had chosen for herself. I didn't need to lift a single finger to destroy her. She had done it all on her own. And me? I was just getting started.